Hi everyone, we are back for our third episode of the Jeongdong Heroes. I'm your host, Alex. So far, we had episode 1 covering William Scofield and episode 2 discussing about Underwood. This time on episode 3, we will be talking about the story of Ewha Hakdang. And with every episode, we always have our special guest who is joining us. Today, we are lucky to feature someone who actually attends Ewha Women's University, and we will discuss the important history and how it is related to Jeongdong. So without further ado, let's introduce Bushra. Hi.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone. My name is Bushra. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to have you. So I know you have many achievements from being like a special guest on other radio shows, speaking many languages, and currently enrolled at Ewha Women's University. So can you give us a short introduction for our viewers and our listeners?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. My name is Bushra, and I have been here for 7 years, in Korea for 7 years. Well, I started learning Korean as everybody. Then I have enrolled in Hankuk University of Foreign Studies for 4 years. Then I graduated last year. Then I started my graduate school in business in Ewha University, and I'm gonna graduate this semester.
Wow.
Yeah.
So actually just listening to your background, I feel like you're a perfect guest for today's episode. Since we are discussing about the infamous Mary Fletcher Benton Scranton and Ewha Hakdang.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk about my experience at Ewha and the history of how Ewha became now one of the most prestigious schools in Korea.
So let's get started with the beginnings of Mary Scranton. You know, who she is and why is she important to know?
Mary Scranton was an American missionary who became the first female missionary in Korea. She is most notably famous for founding Ewha Hakdang, the first modern educational institution for females in Korea in 1886.
Wow, so education for women in Korea started with Mary Scranton?
That's right.
And what was the inspiration to start education for women?
So, some information on her background. She was born in Massachusetts, America, growing up with a Methodist minister father. She then later married William Scranton and together had a son named William B. Scranton. Unfortunately, she lost her husband and decided to move to Ohio where her son lived. In Ohio, she became active in the Methodist Church and in the Women's Foreign Missionary Society. In 1884, the Women's Foreign Missionary Society asked Scranton to become the first female missionary in Korea.
Oh, wow. So it seems that Mary Scranton must have had some sort of epiphany after the death of her husband, which kind of motivated her to be more involved in the church.
It could be, but she had a lot of influence growing up with a religious father. So either way, she was known to be very committed to ministering to and with Korean women.
And I understand that when she relocated to Korea, she was nearly 50 years old.
Yeah, at that time, it maybe have been debatable that she was deemed old, to be a missionary and traveling to a different country at that age. However, it did not matter if she felt her calling, was to go to Korea.
I see. So I think she's very admirable, regardless of her age, to follow her dreams. In this case, she should definitely be looked up upon as someone who continues and strives towards a goal no matter where life takes them.
Right.
And, getting this into a little bit more deeper, if you were in Mary Scranton's shoes, at the age of 50, would you be willing to go to Korea to start a new journey in your life?
Yeah, this is really a hard but also interesting question. Because you are questioning about something that happens like days ago, like years ago.
Yeah.
But as you know, we are living in 2021, so it's quite different. I actually have read many articles and studies that there are thousands of travelers that volunteer abroad over 40, 50, and 60 years old every year,
Okay.
all with their own unique skills and knowledge looking for their next challenge in life after their retirement. The first thing you need to know is that age is not a barrier. In fact, experience and wisdom can be a huge advantage to volunteering abroad. And then, as Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And the big step that Mary Scranton did was brave and adventurous. I think she wanted to go through the journey of coming to Korea where she can find her happiness.
Right.
So again, to answer your question, different time period, different thinking, and also a big step. That's what I did in the young age. I decided to come and study in Korea. Korea is far away from my country, which is in Africa.
Yeah.
But age and destination was never a problem for me. I was ready to face anything throughout my journey, and I can proudly say that after every journey ends, the next day a new chapter started.
I think your story is very has some parallels, some big similarities to Mary Scranton. But other than that, maybe other people can really relate to your story and her story. So I think this topic is very good for anyone listening. Yeah, being able to strive for that goal, no matter anything stopping you, right? Like age or language or culture. It's possible to reach your goal, whatever you want to do. So, moving on to the history of Ewha School and the creation as well as development. For Mary Scranton, as a foreigner and as a woman, it must not have been easy during that time period, during the 1800s. So, how did she first establish the first modern educational institute for women?
So when Scranton arrived to Korea, she quickly realized the plight of Korean women under Confucian tradition. She sought to believe that education would change their lives and the whole Korean society.
So I see when, as a missionary, she first observed the Korean woman, and that's how she came to that idea.
Scranton founded Ewha with the purpose to give equal educational rights for underprivileged Korean women. Though she did not speak Korean and there were anti-foreign, anti-Christian sentiments, she and her co-workers overcame all the difficulties and first established Ewha Hakdang, or Ewha Girls High School, in 1886. The building where the school was originally at is located in Jeongdong, but now it is a museum.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the building in modern day?
Yeah, sure. So Ewha Museum was opened on May 31, 2006 to mark the 120th anniversary of Ewha Hakdang. Ewha Hakdang was the first modern educational institution for females in Korea. As the number of students increased, constructions began to demolish the existing building in 1897 and replace it with a two-story Western building, Simpson Hall, which was completed in 1915.
Oh, wow. So that building is currently in Jeongdong and not too far from us. So I hope to visit there one day after they open the doors for tourists. So going back to Scranton's story of establishing the first women's school, that is quite a risky thing to do because there's a lot of different bodies of people against that idea.
Yeah, I think it was very difficult, but it had to start somewhere. Did you know that at the beginning there was only one student?
Really? One student? Then it's more like a private tutoring if you have the classroom all to yourself, right?
Yeah, eventually the school gained momentum and expanded. Actually, it even became the country's first educational institution consisting of elementary, middle, high school, and university.
That's really impressive. Someone that attended can say they attended from age 5 through 22. like being a pupil of Ewha for more than a decade.
Yes, I think so too. I also want to share another interesting fact. The name of Ewha was given by King Gojang in 8087, which translates into pear blossom. The pear blossom was associated with purity and brightness.
Oh wow, King Gojang must have really liked Ewha to give it such a nice name.
Yes, with a good name from the start. The school started with only one subject, English.
I see, that makes sense since Scranton is a native English speaker.
Yes. The school mainly taught English and then later about the Bible. As time passed, the school expanded into more subjects as they gained more students.
So the education system for women has truly advanced and developed since then. And as a graduate student, how do you think Ewha University has changed from being Ewha Hakdang? You know, I guess in more detail, I want to ask, you know, if you were in that period, would you attend that school?
Yeah.
You know, as a woman, you know, during that period, it's so different, right?
Yeah, you. This is also another interesting question. Well, even though the century time period is different, it sounded attractive and adventurous. I would attend, learn more, and bring the leg, take an action, because it won't be easy, but it will be surely be a good journey.
I want to touch a little bit more detail on it because, you know, back then women probably was not treated very equal, right? They were below men and they belonged in a certain stereotype.
Right.
It must have been or would have been very difficult for a young woman, let's just say, or old woman, whatever, being able to be educated, you know, maybe even face some very harsh treatment against not just men, but other women, right? Saying like, hey, you shouldn't be there. You should be in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah.
I agree.
How would you respond to that, you think?
Well, I think that's that wouldn't be that, especially during that time. It's not that easy, you know, to take the first step and be the first student and like reverse what's the society, what's the construction of the society. Go against everything. Especially that time, it was like women were like have no rights and already like, you know, women should stay home, women should take care of the kids. Women don't really need to take any kind of education. So if me going against the society, that's gonna be really interesting.
Really interesting, but really tough, I think.
And
right?
tough too.
Physically, mentally, like both. And if I'm very curious now, right? Like who?
But again, I mean, we are living in 2021 and almost 2022, but we are talking about like the 80s and 70s. So it's like really different periods of times, right?
Right. So I can't imagine how
I
hard
cannot even imagine
is.
myself living in that area. I probably would be like, I don't know, maybe would follow the system, maybe. Yeah.
But it gives me hope that there were students that followed her.
Right.
And believed in her that this could change the perspective of women back then. If it wasn't for them, then who knows? Like, would we even be here or have higher institutes for women or not? You know, because of them, I really want to appreciate the work that.
Right.
So wow, this is actually such an interesting topic. Starting with Mary Scranton, her founding of Hakdang, and then women's development in education in Korea and in the world to the current Ewha University.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me today. I know that we couldn't talk a lot about the questions that you asked me, but I'm pretty sure that people who are watching our podcast, they have maybe different perspectives or different point of view from me and you. So please leave it in the comment section if you have any different answers, different perspectives. You are also welcome.
Right.
This is really not an easy topic to talk about, especially like if you will be challenging the system, especially if you're women challenging the system, and it's really hard to answer stuff that happened during 80s, right? But probably you guys have probably have like a good answers for that, maybe better than mine.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I want to say very similar to what you said is that this kind of topic is about history, right? But, you know, even though it's old news, right, it's history, I want to say that if the viewers and listeners can take something from our podcast would be that, you know, this is someone that has gone against the society
Right.
and created something, an opportunity for other people.
Yeah.
So hopefully they learn a little bit about something, and you know, if it wasn't for them, we have no idea where education system for women would be in Korea.
And it's really fun to have a discussion.
Right.
With
It's not common to have this kind of conversation in regular life.
I hope we can have more discussion
some
in the
intellectual
future.
conversation.
Yeah.
So this concludes our third episode of the Jeongdong Heroes. It was a really rewarding time to learn about the subject in Jeongdong. And for our next episodes, you will see a change in topics and even a change in language. So look forward to the remaining episodes of the Jeongdong Heroes coming up. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.